any chit chat video. So we're actually, this is like take two. I started this live earlier and I completely forgot that I had my mic hooked up and I had it in the bed and it was all muffled. So I'm pretty sure nobody was able to hear what I was actually saying. I tried to continue on when I found out, but it was just so much time had passed in the video. I just decided to go ahead and scrap it and we'll start from scratch. So before I go ahead and get started with this video, I just want to go ahead and shout out my Purple Heart member gangs. Shout out to you guys for all of your support. You guys will see this video once I re-upload it onto YouTube. So thank you for your support in advance. You guys always come through. You're awesome. And we love you guys. If you want to take part in our membership, or not membership because it's not a membership in that way, but it is like our little thing that we do on my channel, all you have to do is like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. If you want to take part in our giveaways, join our Purple Heart gang, PRP gang in the comments under the videos. Follow us on our social media. All that information is in the bio. And yeah, that's how we go about selecting our giveaway winners and all that good stuff. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and jump into this video. So yesterday I made part one, which was basically addressing something I saw online. It was on YouTube. I was watching a video and they were talking about this whole anti-immigrant sentiment that's running through the Black American community. It's the whole, it wasn't so much focused on the whole boycotting of the African braiding shop as it was more so focusing on this whole, you're not black, or you're not black enough, or your experience as a black person doesn't live up to our experience as, black Americans in America, basically discrediting other black people's history and experience because it wasn't experienced through their lens. Um, so that was part one. I wanted to go ahead and shed some more light on why I was saying the things that I was saying in the video. So I went on to Google and I Googled, were any slaves brought to the Americas through the Caribbean? And this is the information that came up. Of course, I already knew some of this information because I was taught a different Black history than people in America. So I already knew some of this stuff. But it was interesting just to kind of see how it was, broken down very simply and straightforward. So when I said, you know, the Caribbean was the jumping off point for a lot of the African slaves going to the Americas is exactly what I meant. For example, in Barbados, I talked about sugar plantations. That was like a big thing in the West Indies at that time. Lots of slaves were brought over from Africa to work in the sugarcane plantation because sugar was like gold back then. Sugar and tea were the major products that were being produced. So it was a lot of money involved in the production of sugar. So they had to bring over all that labor. So a lot of slaves were brought in from Africa, but they didn't just stay on the plantation. A lot of them were brought there to be broken in, as you would say, to get them amalgamated with the climate, to get them used to the weather. So they worked at the plantation. They had children there, and those children were then traded onto slave ships that were headed to America. So even if your ancestry says, oh, I'm just, African, or African ancestry, or American, or whatever have you, chances are your ancestors came through the hub that was in the Caribbean for trading slaves. It was on all the Caribbean islands. It was known as, somewhere you would go to drop off slaves, pick up fresh ones, pick up settlers as well. As it pertains to Barbados, um, you have a lot of history in the Carolinas, South Carolina, um, where you had settlers who were Caucasian, who owned slaves on the island, who migrated to America and brought with them their household slaves, their field slaves, and they then imported more slaves for labor. So a lot of these African slaves coming into the United States were coming from the Caribbean and their children that they had in the Caribbean with them. Sometimes the mother was kept behind if the child wasn't on the breast anymore, and just the child was sent over to America to work inside or to be a companion or whatever the case may be. Right. So this is why I say when Black Americans come with this anti-immigrant, anti-Black immigrant stuff, talking about send them back to Haiti and send them back to the Caribbean and they don't belong here and blah 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 blah, you have to like check your genealogy. You really gotta dig deep into your bloodline because chances are your ancestors came through the Caribbean trading hub, and chances are some of them were born in the Caribbean before they were forcefully immigrated to the United States. Let's talk about Haiti real quick. I don't even have to scroll down. This stuff I know by heart, right? Let's talk about Haiti. So you had a lot of white settlers and free blacks who left Haiti to go to America when the revolution and the revolt started, when the slaves started rising up and killing their masters, right? They fled the island. And so when you're saying go back to Haiti, some of your ancestors come from Haiti. Um, I mean, this is what I talk about. Yesterday, I was just like irritated because it was actually watching and listening to this stuff was crazy. Um, but today I wanted to come from a place of excuse me, maybe they didn't know some of this stuff. Maybe they just don't know because it's not taught in their history classes. It's not in their history books. History seems to start from slavery for a lot of Black Americans, and there was just so much more to Black history before that that they completely don't know or refuse to learn. And a lot of the times when they're looking for their history, they're talking about going back to Ghana and where the slave trade and all this other stuff and back to Africa. And they completely forget about their Caribbean heritage and history. And that's something that you probably, you know, don't want to forget because a lot of slaves came to the Americas through the Caribbean. So, like I said yesterday, we're all intertwined. We're all the children of slaves, descendants of slaves. We're all coming from a place of bondage. And instead of embracing each other, you want to feed this hate, this anti immigrant, anti black immigrant. Like, it doesn't even make sense, like if you really want to get into it, right? So that's what I said yesterday when I said when they're done, deporting the Black immigrants like you want and sending them back where they come from, let them start with your ancestry and dig up in your genealogy, and maybe you'll be ending up on one of these Caribbean islands or one of these countries in Africa too, with your, all your documentation clutching, showing how American you are, right? So it's just ridiculous, like to have this type of energy going through our community. And I would hope that the educated Black Americans would share some of their education and history with their fellow countrymen who are not as educated on their history. We're all intertwined one way or the other. So let's not focus so much on the self hate, and let's focus more on self advancement and trying to, you know, elevate as a race, instead of tearing each other down. It don't really make sense. And to other ethnic groups, they're just laughing because you look ridiculous talking about who gets to be black and who gets to be this and who gets to be that. 1% this and 3% that. Crazy, crazy talk. Anyway, Let me know what you guys think about this information. Drop it in the comments. If you already knew this information, let me know in the comments. If you're aware, maybe you have ancestors who came through the Carolinas, who came through those sugar plantations, who are aware of their history before they got to the Americas. Let me know in the comments. I'm always interested to talk to educated people, and even for those who have their ignorant comments as well, feel free to leave them in the comments as well. We also like to debate that as well. So thank you guys so much for your time. Stay up and stay blessed. And we will catch up with you guys in another video. Deuces.